All right, so after weeks of wondering why, man, Kamala Harris hasn't sat down, as uh, presidential candidate for the Democratic Party, she finally sits down with CNN, right? And first thing that I noticed, which wasn't a good look, was the fact of how Tim Walz was towering over her. Now, I looked it up. Tim Walz is supposedly around 6'2", and she's around 5'4". But you could put his ass in a kiddie seat or, put her in a chair that brings up a little bit further than that. But, hey, optics. That's what I'm paying attention to. Those are the types of things I'm paying attention to. I don't know if all of you are, but we're going to get into a few things, that she talked about, that she addressed, things that she was questioned on. I don't think it was as hard of an interview that I wanted to see, but nonetheless, she sat down, right? And some people are, upset at the fact that, hey, why is she sitting down with Tim Walz? Why is Tim Walz? It seems like Tim Walz has to hold her hand. What, the Democratic Party doesn't trust her? What, she's not trustworthy? Well, she's not very well known for answering the tough questions. But let's get into this first question about her quote-unquote blackness as it pertains to Donald Trump and what he had to say about it.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
Any same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, so look, for me, her blackness isn't my biggest question. The biggest question is she an ally? Plain and simple, right? Is she an ally? Because, I mean, if all skin folk ain't kinfolk, what she look like really shouldn't be, on your highest list of your concerns. Is she an ally? Is she going to do what she says? Is she just cosplaying when she's using Megan Thee Stallion at her rally in Georgia and Atlanta? Do a little bit of twerking to try to get, the attention of the young black female audience. Okay, yeah, you got our attention, but what are you going to do with that, right? What are your intentions? So, I mean, we can just move past that. It's on the table, but let's just move it to the side a little bit, okay? Because I think as far as when it comes to this country, we have bigger concerns, like, I don't know, immigration.
As vice president, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
Northern part of Central America.
The northern part of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock And 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to
Not
ask
only
about
push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
just one other question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
All right, so I'm looking at this graphic, right, from the Washington Post as far as the illegal immigration into the U.S., right? And as you can see, the bottom red arrow where it points out Trump leaves office, it kind of skyrockets after that, right? So I'm not really listening, or nor am I believing what she said she was done. I see how she tried to pass the buck a little bit, talking about what Joe Biden told her to do. She did what Joe Biden, I guess, gave her permission to do. But I still remember that whole thing with the Haitians, right? The Haitian migrants, how they were treated. Oh, man, it was horrible. But that was under her watch. She was known and said to be over the border, and she has done a horrible job. And, let's speak to the whole thing with the black jobs with Donald Trump. It said, and mind you now, if you don't know by now, I'm so much of a independent more than anything, okay? I have no allegiance to the Republican side or the Democratic side. I try to be, as unbiased as possible, right? Try to be objective as possible. But I knew what Donald Trump was saying when he was saying that migrants were taking black jobs. A lot of black people got offended by it. What do you mean by a black job? Well, if you've been paying attention to the news, where have the migrants have been being bused and shipped to? Highly populated black areas. That's right. Whose jobs you think they're going to take? They ain't shipping them to the suburbs. They ain't shipping them to highly populated white areas. They sending them to highly populated black areas. That's why Chicago was raising hell outside of the DNC not too long ago in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, I know he don't say everything that you want to hear, but you got to pay a little bit of attention to what he's trying to say. Now, mind you now, like I said, I ain't no Trump ally, but I ain't knocking nobody that is either. But as far as this illegal immigration, man, it's something serious. It is something serious. And it's high on my priority list. So let's put Kamala to the side for a second, okay? Because as it pertains to Tim Walz, J.D. Vance, the vice president candidate beside Trump, he brought up the fact that Tim Walz, I don't know, in so many words, talked about going into war with war weapons and, because he was a military and he served 24 years and he was clout chasing and he was lying about his pedigree in the military. Well, let's see what Tim Walz had to say about that.
Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war.
Yeah.
Did you misspeak, as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service.
Now, as a military brat myself, no, I have not served, but, most of my family has. And I will say, I know of two ways is real quick to get your ass whooped when it comes to veterans or those that are in the military. Number one, if you are a citizen and you have never served a day and you walking around here with military uniform on and somebody who's really in the military catches you, it's going to be an issue. The second one is for those who are in the military who act like, they did a few tours and they seen some shit when they really, at the end of the day, ain't even seen a food fight. So, yeah, take that how you want it. But, it ain't disrespectful to call out somebody in the military talking about they've been in war and they ain't seen a day of it. I don't see no disrespect in that. And I'll be honest with you, I noticed how he was trying to avoid answering the question. Shout out to old girl that, circled black and said, yeah, but, you need to answer that, right? This interview in totality, like I said, it could have been a little bit more hard. It could have been some more hard balls. I think for the most part, it was pretty much lightweight, softball, But what do you expect, right? CNN, right? But let's get back to Kamala. Let's bring her back in here and let's talk about the whole situation with Joe Biden. She was front and center just saying how Joe Biden, I remember that speech that she gave, right? When he basically was labeled as, not all the way there, during the whole investigation into the, top secret files found in his garage.
Listen, I have been privileged and proud to serve as Vice President of the United States with Joe Biden as President of the United States. And what I saw of that report last night, I believe is, as a former prosecutor, the comments that were made by that prosecutor, gratuitous, inaccurate, and inappropriate. October 7th, Israel experienced a horrific attack, and I will tell you, we got the calls, the president and myself, in the hours after that occurred. It was an intense moment for the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America, and I was in almost every meeting with the president in the hours and days that followed. Countless hours with the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, the heads of our intelligence community, and the president was in front of and on top of it all, asking questions and requiring that America's military and intelligence community and diplomatic community would figure out and know how many people were dead, how many are Americans, how many hostages, is the situation stable? He was in front of it all, coordinating and directing leaders who are in charge of America's national security, not to mention our allies around the globe.
Let's see what she has to say about that now.
You were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president. By contrast, the former president has none of that.
Boy, she's standing on it, ain't she? And that's why I don't be vibing with politicians like that. Right now, and you guys, let me know in the comments if you know any politicians, Republican or Democrat, independent, that you feel are totally authentic, fully authentic. It's one that I know of, and it's Nina Turner. From everything that I've seen from her so far, she's fully authentic. And it's probably why you're not seeing her, in the spaces that she should be in, right? As a candidate for vice president, candidate for president. Why not, right? I would love to see her in 2028 as, a candidate, running for office, running for the presidency or vice presidency. I would love to see that. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, man. Like I said, and what the Forgotten Party is all about, man, is those who basically just feel forgotten, not heard, not seen, taken for granted. This is about, having those conversations, right? And talking about politics and in my own way, right? In my own way. And I hope you guys appreciate it. And I hope you guys, continue to support this channel. I know I made a drastic change from Vance's 2 cents to my 2 cents to now the Forgotten Party. I know. I'm finding myself in this space of content creation. And I just felt like what I was doing, it just wasn't me. And it wasn't something I was interested in. And I didn't feel like I was serving anybody. It wasn't serving anybody anything but gossip and drama and just, bullshit, right? But even though that does exist in the politics and all of that, but at least, dealing with politics, it can affect and it can change. And, it's things that people should be learning about, being more aware of what's going on around them as it pertains to politics. So this is it. This is what it is moving forward, man. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And, if you're not a subscriber already, subscribe to the channel, man. Ain't gonna hurt you nothing. Ain't gonna cost you a dime, man. All right? Peace.
The Forgotten Party.
My fellow citizens,
it is strong. It's my duty to report
the true problems of our nation.
If vigorously developed, this resource will be of great benefit.
Where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause.
I will be eternally grateful for your support.